Good afternoon, everybody. Colin here with Techout, and today we are going to be talking about something kind of interesting that I came across last night on Mac Rumors, and this post has gone kind of viral now, and that is John Prosser over at Front Page Tech. I have a video coming out on this, by the way. I just recorded going over all the details, but I kind of wanted to do a little stream here and kind of get some opinions if anybody was interested in this. Like I said, got a lot of traction over on X, and all the Discord servers I follow and everything like that. We're talking about it. So basically, John Prosser over at Front Page Tech is is being sued by Apple for his iOS 26 leaks, and not necessarily just his iOS 26 leaks as a whole, but how he obtained them, how he was able to get access to iOS 26 before it was announced at WWDC and all that, and that was via an Apple employee's phone, where he had somebody that he paid that accessed this person's phone. And if you guys want to see this, you can go to Mac Rumors. It's on Mac Rumors. You can read the full complaint right here. The complaints are misappropriation of the trade secrets under the Defend Trade Secrets Act and violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. He basically obtained this Apple employee's phone, passcode and phone, and called John Prosser with Front Page Tech and showed him iOS 26. So basically, he recorded the FaceTime call of this person showing him iOS 26 on this employee's phone, and he recreated it. So I don't know who sent this to, who it was from or to, but the subject was iOS 19 leaker information, Ethan Lipnick, who is the Apple employee. I'm not sure who to contact, but as a courtesy to the iOS 19 team at Apple, I wanted to share information that I have about an employee who leaked pre-release design details. The iOS 19 information shared by John Prosser is sourced from Ethan Lipnick, and then he links 2 videos. I'm not too sure what this first one is, but the second one is John Prosser's iOS 19 leaks video. I'm guessing this email, if anybody knows, let me know. If anybody knows, let me know, but I'm guessing this email probably came from somebody that was working with John Prosser to recreate these leaks. Preston, the video is still up. It's on Front Page Tech. Front Page Tech introducing iOS 19. This is from back in March. So long before WWDC. He has an iOS 19 video, and then a video detailing the biggest iOS leak ever. Obviously, it's called iOS 26 because when he made these videos, these were kind of right before the rumors started coming out about it being called iOS 26. So I'm guessing this email because John Prosser says in these videos that he is
biggest life hack when it comes to writing.
That he's protecting
new icons behind. It won't even be shown off in any official capacity until June. So of course, it's early, and Apple does a lot of clever hiding. Let's say you're an Apple engineer. Some elements of the OS are forked off into separate teams to prevent a full build from being in your possession, which is also why we never really see iOS leak early. Some of the elements are especially hidden, not from you, but maybe from prying eyes while it is in your possession. Make note of that. That's going to be important in a couple minutes. And
so he says right there that, it's hidden from prying eyes while it's in your possession. So he claims right there he knows that prying eyes were looking at this dude's phone. Yet he claims now, after all this, after the lawsuit started, he claims now he did not plot to access anyone's phone and was unaware of the situation playing out. But in his video, he said, kept safe from prying eyes. And then that's going to be, he also talks about in his video, obviously I can't play the full video, but he also talks about in his video, he was recreating the source, or he was recreating iOS 26 to protect the source. Obviously, if he just takes, screenshots and posts those of iOS 26 directly from the source's device, obviously those can be traced back to, an individual iOS device. So he tried to separate the person, the person's iOS 26 development device and him, but by seeing it, by taking these recorded FaceTime calls and then taking it and making recreations of it to kind of cut out the connection there. So he said both defendants knew Apple goes to great lengths to protect its trade secret information, including highly sensitive information contained on devices used for express purpose of developing new products. Defendants also explicitly acknowledged they were not authorized to access those devices, much less steal Apple's trade secrets from them. It says that, we'll call him Michael. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I butchered it in my video that I recorded. I think it's Ramacotti. We'll call him Ramacotti. Used location tracking to determine where or when Mr. Lipnick is the Apple employee, for those unaware. So it's John Prosser, Michael Ramacotti, and Ethan Lipnick. Ethan Lipnick is not named in this lawsuit. He was the Apple employee. Obviously, I don't think he willingly gave this up. He was, I believe, fired from Apple. I don't think that's in this lawsuit, but I did see that somewhere else that he was fired from Apple, probably from because he left this phone somewhere where somebody could gain access to it. It wasn't in his possession at the time this happened, I don't believe, but we'll read through this and see. It said he used location tracking to when Mr. Lipnick would be gone for an extended period of time. So obviously Mr. Lipnick was not with the phone when this happened. So he used location tracking to see when Mr. Lipnick was going to be gone for an extended period of time, acquired his passcode, and broke into his development iPhone, which Mr. Lipnick had failed to properly secure according to Apple's policies. So yes, the phone was not with him, but he also did not properly secure it, which is probably why he was terminated. Now, if you guys remember when the Vision OS came out, when they had Vision OS development units that were going around, or not going around, but when developers could get Vision OS development units, you had to lock up in a specific place the development unit. You couldn't just leave it out where somebody could access it or somebody could start playing with it. It had to be locked away in a room, in a cabinet, locked drawer, something like that. There were a whole bunch of rules that were going into place. And that was after Apple had announced that Vision OS was a thing. That was when developers could start getting development kits for it. So this is something that an Apple employee would have to follow, even before the software was announced to the public whatsoever. So I'm sure that it was even more strict than just developers being able to borrow a development unit. So when that happened, as detailed in the audio message, I don't know what audio message this is talking about. John Prosser did share some screenshots on his X about about the text between him and Michael, I believe it was, and some messages that were deleted. So I don't know if these deleted messages were also what they're referring to. Maybe Apple was able to gain access to those somehow. Not too sure. He made a video call to Mr. Prosser and showed iOS on the development iPhone. He demonstrated several features and applications, disclosing details of the unreleased iOS 19 operating system. So I'm pretty sure internally it was called iOS 20 or iOS 19 until iOS 26 was kind of ready to be released. There are still there, even when it came out, there were references to iOS 19 in the operating system itself. So this isn't Apple confusing it or anything like that right here. It was internally actually iOS 19 until they changed all the names to 26 for the year. Mr. Ramacotti admitted he knew This access and copying was unauthorized and could put Mr. Lipnick's career in jeopardy, but he did it anyway. Okay, so it actually says right here, yes, he did get fired. Apple subsequently ended Mr. Lipnick's employment for failing to follow Apple's policies designed to protect its confidential information, including development devices and unreleased software and features. So he did lose his job for this. So I think Mr. Ramacati, I think he's actually one of the people that might have given up some of this information that John Prosser is claiming didn't happen. So I'm pretty sure not only did Apple find this out somehow, but I'm pretty sure that that Michael Ramacati is also involved in kind of turning this in, because it says according to him. So John Prosser saying these things didn't happen, but the person he paid, maybe John Prosser has a history of not paying people on time. John Prosser has a history of not paying his sources or his staff, or, freelancers that work with him. That also has come out in the past few months, that he owed somebody thousands of dollars, and when John Prosser got the money and was going to be able to pay him, he paid him in like installments, and then randomly bought him a new phone instead of using that money to just pay him. So I don't know, maybe something happened between these two, and then he turned him in. Maybe that email was from Mr. Ramacati to Apple saying, "Hey, I got this information." I don't know why he would have turned the Apple guy in. But somebody turned somebody in here, and then somebody's talking, and now somebody's not telling the truth on what happened, obviously. Because, they say there's three sides to a story. Your side, each person's side and the truth. And, well, there's three people involved here. So we got what happened between Prosser and Ramacati, what Ramacati did, and what Lipnick did wasn't really relevant to this, other than he left the iPhone unsecure. He didn't really play a part in them gaining access to it. He didn't know that was going on. He just left the iPhone out for the opportunity, unbeknownst to him, not on purpose. According to Mr. Ramacati, Mr. Prosser proposed the scheme and promised to find out a way for him, Mr. Ramacati, to get payment. And Mr. Ramacati would provide access to Mr. Lipnick's development iPhone so Mr. Prosser could steal and profit from Apple's confidential information. Mr. Ramacati acknowledged that Mr. Prosser recorded the video call with screen capture tools. Mr. Prosser took videos of the trade secrets on the development iPhone, kept them on his own device, and disseminated those recordings to others. He shared the recordings at least one person who reported back to Mr. Lipnick that he recognized Mr. Lipnick's apartment in the recording. So that was probably the person who sent the email. When he was recording the iPhone, somebody recognized the Apple guy's apartment and told him. Ultimately, Mr. Prosser profited off Apple's trade secrets by at least sharing from and multiple videos on his business YouTube channel from which he generated ad revenue. Defendants of unlawful acts which constitute knowing and intentional trade secret misappropriation have damaged Apple with respect to its competitors, including by giving them the advantage of knowing more about Apple's software design and unreleased functionality in advance of their release. Moreover, Apple does not know the full extent of its trade secrets and confidential information the defendant viewed and retained when they accessed Mr. Lipnick's development iPhone, which contained a significant amount of additional Apple trade secret information that has not been publicly disclosed. So not only was iOS 26 shown off, we know that was shown off because we have the video, but there was also other information, potentially about new devices or other Apple trade secrets on there that have also been possibly, they don't know for sure because they don't know what exactly was seen outside iOS, but there was other information on the device that these two parties may have seen. And then it basically just kind of talks about their software design. Apple diligently provides its proprietary and trade secret information. Apple provides equipment, networks, and electronic systems, such as internet and intranet access, voicemail, email, instant messaging, collaboration tools to its employees to conduct its business. Access to these is subject to strict security protocols and policies, including the use of passwords, multi-factor authentication, and encryption to protect data on its computers, servers, and repositories. Written policies and procedures emphasizing employees' duties to maintain the secrecy of Apple's confidential information, confidentiality, and non-disclosure agreements requiring employees, vendors, customers, partners, and contractors to do the same. People outside of Apple cannot access Apple's computers without authorization. Apple also protects physical facilities with locks, security cameras, and security guards. To gain access to Apple's facilities, individuals must have Apple-issued key cards. Only Apple employees, temporary employees, eligible vendors, associates, and contractors receive key cards. Individuals lacking a key card must be escorted by an Apple employee while inside Apple's facilities. As a condition of their employment, Apple employees also must sign a confidentiality agreement obligating them to protect, during and after their employment, Apple and third-party confidential information that they acquire during their employment. Apple ensures its employees understand their obligation by providing regular training. So, Mr. Lipnick knew what he had to do to protect this information, and he didn't follow that. That's why he was terminated. Apple also protects the secrecy of details related to its unreleased offerings by limiting employee access to project-related information only to those people who are disclosed on a project, determined to have a need-to-know project-specific proprietary information. Software engineers, for example, may require login credentials to access specific source code repositories with access farther restricted to their particular job responsibilities. So like somebody working on like the camera app, for example, may only have access to source code for the camera app and not, other parts of iOS. Apple also limits issuance of development devices to only those employees who must have access to perform their jobs, and provides separate guidance on how to maintain the devices in a secure manner, including never leaving the device unattended. That's where the issue arises. That's what got him fired. He left the device unattended. He probably had this development device because he was probably testing, iOS 26 as a whole. He wasn't working on just one specific part of the OS, so he was running a development device, containing a majority of the operating system. Mister, I don't know who that is. Ramakati and Prosser's team agreed upon and carried out a plan to acquire confidential information about Apple's unreleased software designs by improperly accessing Mr. Lipnick's Apple-owned development iPhone without Apple authorization. Because Mr. Prosser lacked access to Apple's networks and systems, he enlisted Mr. Ramakati to help him access Apple's confidential software designs. Mr. Prosser promised Mr. Ramakati compensation in the form of money or a future job opportunity for Mr. Ramakati in exchange for helping Mr. Prosser access, obtain, and copy Apple confidential information. Mr. Ramakati was friends with Mr. Lipnick, an Apple software engineering employee whom Apple had issued the development iPhone to develop and test certain aspects of Apple's unreleased operating systems. According to Mr. Lipnick, Mr. Ramakati often spent his time at home, sometimes staying for the weekend. At his home. So he often spent time at Mr. Lipnick's home. So he knew him, probably how he got his passcode. Probably wasn't given to him, but probably somehow oversaw it. Mr. Prosser knew Ramakati, or maybe not knew him, but somehow came across him and knew that he had access to this and was offering him payment or a possible upcoming job opportunity to get this information. So sometimes staying for the weekend and observing his patterns and security protocols for his devices. At Mr. Prosser's direction, Mr. Ramakati obtained Mr. Lipnick's passcode, unlocked the development iPhone, and shared details about iOS 19 with Mr. Prosser via FaceTime. According to Mr. Ramakati, he accessed confidential information on the development iPhone while in Mr. Lipnick's apartment. Once he was sure he was alone in Mr. Lipnick's home, Mr. Ramakati used location tracking to determine when Mr. Lipnick would return home so that he would know how much time he had to break into the device and copy Apple's trade secrets. When he confirmed Mr. Lipnick was gone, Mr. Ramakati made a FaceTime call to Mr. Prosser. According to forensic evidence, Mr. Ramakati called Mr. Prosser before he unlocked the development iPhone, indicating Mr. Prosser was involved in the decision to improperly access trade secrets. So they know when the FaceTime call was made, and they know, obviously, they probably have a lot of information. Since it was an Apple-owned phone, they can get a lot of back-end information from it without anybody's permission because they own the phone. So they have a lot of information about when the FaceTime call was made and when the phone was unlocked. So Mr. Prosser was already on the FaceTime call before the phone was unlocked. So Mr. Prosser had to have known that he was accessing this device. Mr. McCarty then entered the stolen passcode. So they call it a stolen passcode. So yes, it looks like he was not, didn't willingly give it up. Access into closed iOS 19 to Mr. Prosser. As he did, so Mr. Prosser screen captured the FaceTime call, copying Apple's confidential trade secrets, and shared the recording and renderings of Apple's unreleased software design with others. Defendants knew that the information about the unreleased software was highly confidential and not accessible, and only accessible via Apple's protected systems. Mr. Prosser has publicly boasted about securing access to Apple's confidential software designs, despite the protections Apple has put in place to keep this information confidential. Apple does a lot of clever hiding, which was what we saw him say in that video that I played earlier. Let's say you're an Apple engineer. Some elements of the OS are forked off into separate teams to prevent a full build from being in your possession. Exactly what he says in the video, which is also why we never really see iOS leak early. Some of the elements are especially hidden, not from you, but maybe from prying eyes while it is in your possession. And then they link the video. And the timestamps. It says, we were shown the real deal, and the real deal is littered with identifiers to help Apple find leakers. So instead of risking anyone's jobs or lives, we've recreated what we saw. So he knows that they can figure out who leaks this information because there's identifiers within each build on each device. Probably, code and stuff in the background. So if somebody takes like a screenshot or whatever and posts it somewhere, they're automatically going to be able to know where that screenshot came from. Mr. Prosser advertises his ability to get Apple confidential information via unauthorized methods to benefit his own business. Mr. Prosser has demonstrated the confidential information is valuable to him, and he has offered Mr. Amicati financial compensation in return for such information. Mr. Amicati, in turn, has acknowledged the confidentiality of the information, for example, by apologizing to Mr. Lipnick and stating that he knew Mr. Lipnick was subject to strict non-disclosure agreements governing unrelated products. Mr. Amicati kept secret the fact that he had disclosed iOS 19 to Mr. Prosser. Mr. Lipnick found out through others who claimed to have seen Mr. Lipnick's apartment and the video recording from Prosser. Only then did Mr. Amicati send an audio message to Mr. Lipnick detailing the compensation proposed by Mr. Prosser and their plan to acquire Apple information. But Mr. Lipnick never reported this improper disclosure or his potential involvement in it to anyone at Apple. Despite the commitments Mr. Lipnick made to protect Apple confidential information, Apple had to learn of the trade secret theft from an anonymous email. So they're keeping that email anonymous. Mr. Amicati's actions, including his deliberate attempts to conceal accessing the development iPhone from Mr. Lipnick and his later apology, demonstrate his understanding that improperly obtaining and sharing information about Apple's unreleased iOS was unlawful and violated Apple's internal policies and Mr. Lipnick's agreements with Apple. And then it says, Apple has incurred substantial costs in investigating defendants' unauthorized access to its computer and network systems, including the development iPhone. Although Apple ended Mr. Lipnick's employment for violation of Apple policies that protect development and unreleased devices, software, and features, the damage has been done and the risk to Apple persists. Defendants remain in possession of Apple's trade secrets relating to its confidential software designs, including one or more video recordings. As defendants have already shown at least a portion of the recordings to others, there is a substantial risk they will continue to improperly access and disclose them to others. Moreover, given the extensive access to Mr. Lipnick had a sense of Apple information at the time, defendants broke into the development iPhone. Mr. Lipnick's failure to report this and multiple prior breaches to Apple and the brazen nature of defendant's theft, Apple does not know whether defendants may have additional recordings or other forms of Apple confidential information that are at risk of disclosure. While certain features have been disclosed to others in the interim, the development iPhone additionally contained other unannounced design elements that remain confidential. So yeah, it doesn't look like what Prosser's saying is true about him not knowing. So I don't believe that. I don't believe when he says right here, this is not how things went down on my end. For the record, I certainly did not plot to access anyone's phone and was unaware of the situation playing out. Well, if you're offering compensation for somebody to do something, they call you and you watch them do it. I think that's pretty much the definition of plotting to do something. Offering compensation or employment or anything of the like. He willingly knew what was going on. So that is Apple suing John Prosser, Front Page Tech, over iOS 26. I am going to post like a shorter video of this where I kind of just sum it up for anybody interested. But I just wanted to come in here and see if anybody had any opinions or anything. Dwayne Bailey, him being good at his job is also what did it. I wouldn't say John Prosser is really good at his job. John Prosser has gotten a lot of hate. A lot of people in the comments and replies on X have been like, "Oh, this couldn't have happened to a better person," and John Prosser's kind of an arrogant asshole from what a lot of people are saying on there. He actually has me blocked on X. I don't remember why, but he blocked me on X for some reason. I'm blocked on his on the John Prosser account, not the Front Page Tech account, but still, that is the lawsuit. I'm very interested to see how this is going to play out, and I want to see if Apple's actually going to be able to win this one. It'll be kind of interesting. Not kind of interesting if they do, because I don't think they can. I do think they have a pretty good case here. And I don't think that John Prosser saying he didn't do this is really saying much, because obviously he's the one that recreated these. He's the one that recreated these images and everything. In iOS 26, he's the one that recreated all that. I'm guessing what he saw on the development iPhone probably had some new icons and stuff like this. Sorry, I'm trying to find it. Yeah, some new icons like this, how the icons were more roundish. That was probably in a build that was on Mr. Lipnick's phone, and it was changed before release. So that's kind of interesting now that we know where all this came from. But I do believe that that John Prosser knew what was going on here, based on the fact that he intentionally was trying to protect this person's identity by recreating all this. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And like I said, I'll post that other video here a little bit later on. I've got to go make an unboxing for Anchor real quick, and then get a couple videos ready to come out. So thank you guys for watching. Colin with Techout. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and as always,